I was diagnosed 3 years ago, so that was in 2021, formally diagnosed. But my first symptoms started when I think about 2018. And my first symptom was essentially kind of my inability to move my fingers very well in my right hand. And my son was just under a year when my first symptoms started. And there's this Baby Shark song, Baby Shark, do 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 do. So in that, there's one step which says jellyfish, and for jellyfish, you have to move your fingers. And my right hand wasn't moving very well, and I was like, "What's going on?" I mean, at that time, I was just too consumed with looking after him and so on, and I didn't really pay attention to that. And slowly, I just started using my left hand more. And my parents were visiting, and they were like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you using your left hand?" And they kind of pushed me to go and see the doctor. The doctor basically just said, maybe it is to do with carpal tunnel because you're feeding the baby and, you're holding him with the right hand, and basically maybe it's causing some kind of nerve pulling in there. So we went with that for almost a year or two. I wasn't aware of what's going on with my body and so on. And in 2019, I had my second child. So, and in 2019, I started getting the symptoms of dystonia in my right foot. So my toes started curling in my right foot. And again, it was put down to kind of postpartum sort of issues. They said once your body gets back to normal, it'll be fine and all of that. So I think it was the 3 years that I was just pushed from one specialist to another because nobody was sure what was going on. And I think a lot of the people were in denial as well. The medical community itself was in denial that I was somebody who could fit in the boxes and check all the boxes for Parkinson's. So, and it was my gut feeling that there was something more than just a muscle pull or a nerve pull. That basically I said, okay, maybe I just need to see a neurologist because it has nothing to do with a muscle or a nerve. It is something to do with the central nervous system because I'm getting my first tremor started in my right leg, and I think that's the time I said, okay, this is something more than just a muscle or whatever it is. And I think at that point of time, I went to the neurologist, and the neurologist was basically, he saw me, and on the day he saw me, he told me it's more than just a back problem or a hand problem. It is just, unfortunately, it is Parkinson's. And I was like, okay. And it happened in 21, and we were still I think out of lockdown at that time, just coming out of lockdown. So people were still kind of saying, okay, you are not allowed to go accompanied into the hospital. So I was on my own when I was given the diagnosis. It was given to me very matter of factly, okay, now you have Parkinson's and this is what you're going to do, like in terms of the medication and so on. So I think, so that was how I was diagnosed. And since then, I think the first year, to be honest, was just trying to cope with the fact that, you've been given a life-changing diagnosis, a condition which is incurable and which basically is going to be getting worse over time. And so there's no kind of light at the end of the tunnel. So like when you're given diagnosis like that, it kind of affects you because at that time I think my children were really small. Like my younger one was just 18 months old, and my older one was like just turning 3. So it was just like, wow, like what am I supposed to do now? So so I think it was just that. But I think what gave me strength was my husband, for sure. I think he's just been my greatest support. And he always helps me look at the silver linings and everything. So I think that's something that is really invaluable. So the journey since then, I think, has just been, I would say, I've grown a lot as a person, to be honest, because I think it gives you a lot of perspective on life. And it helps you understand what is important, what is not important, who really cares for you, who is just like, there for just for namesake. You get to know a lot of things about yourself. Like, you I think one thing I would say is that, you learn to be grateful for the little things. And I think that's what Parkinson's does. Like, it just helps you put things in perspective, put life in perspective, for sure. Yeah. I think it was, to be honest, it was just overwhelming at first. I think it was just too much to take in. I think there was, I think I like when I say to my parents as well, I think I was just operating in like a robot mode. Like I was just like, I wasn't feeling anything. I was just like doing. And I think that is something that I never had the chance to actually sit down and think, okay, how do I feel about this? And I think that is something that came much later. I think that once I think my younger son turned 1, so I think that would probably be the time when I felt, okay, now I can maybe just think about how I'm feeling about this whole thing. And and I think that's when, like, and also I think the other part of it is you are processing it, and then you're helping people around you process it as well, like your family and friends. And like, you say it's Parkinson, like, are you sure? Like, are you sure? Like, you're so young. Like, how can that be? Have you taken a second opinion? So I think that is also very important, like how people react to you and how people respond to you. And I think that's where awareness has to come in, because people need to know that somebody who looks like me can also have Parkinson's. Because I think the first image that comes to your mind when you see Parkinson's, like a really old person who has tremors. That's the only thing. But there's so many things that are invisible in Parkinson's that people don't really see. And I think that's what I think that's the reason why I also started my advocacy on Instagram, to be able to share and make it, to normalize it, really. The most unexpected symptom was I have hallucinations in my eye, in the periphery of my vision. So that was quite a scary symptom, actually, because it came up as kind of flashes in the eye, and they immediately told me you have to go to A&E, to the emergency department, the hospital, because it could be that the retina is detaching from the from part of the thing, and it could lead to blindness. So I had to immediately go to A&E, and then they referred me to the ophthalmologist, and they checked the physical eye. Everything was fine with the eye, so they were really confused, like, why, what's happened. And at that time, I wasn't diagnosed with Parkinson's yet, so I was just completely like, what is going on, because now my eye is being affected. So and then I went to obviously when I went to the neurologist, he said, that's part of the condition, and it's because of the hallucinations that sometimes accompany the condition. So I think that was the most unexpected symptom. Yes. I think I was quite a control freak, really, before Parkinson's happened. I wanted everything done like in a certain way at a certain time and so on. And I think what Parkinson's did is it just threw me off completely, because I think what it teaches you is that it's so unpredictable, the condition. Like, the symptoms that you experience also differ day to day, in terms of like how often they occur, and also like the intensity with which that they are set in. So I think kind of dealing with being able to deal with change, and I think that that's something that is definitely what I've learned through Parkinson's. Yes, for sure. I think what I would say is that uh, don't worry about what other people thinking around you, because I think that's something that, for example, like, if I'm in a supermarket and if I'm removing my card from my wallet and I start getting a tremor, and then people around me are like, just wondering what's going on, like, why are you shaking or whatever. So I think just keeping calm, I think that's something that really helps me, because I think if I start worrying about what other people are thinking, that's not going to help me. That's going to create more anxiety. So yeah, I think definitely that. And I think coping is just to what I do is a lot of reading about like the research that is happening within Parkinson. So that definitely gives hope. For example, like, there was a recent article which I read, and it said that if you do exercise, uh, which is kind of high intensity, at least 3 times a week, then it helps to slow down the progression. And I think exercise is something that I really do to cope on a day-to-day basis. I have to exercise, and I know that positively, if I think about it, it could have been much worse. And I think that's something that I kind of use, kind of cognitive restructuring, reframing, to help me cope. Yes, so I think primarily because I personally have spoken to other women who have who have Parkinson's. The symptoms kind of aggravate during the PMS time. So, and I think that is one major difference that probably occurs in women as opposed to men. And I think emotionally as well, like um, I think in that manner, it also is different for women as opposed to men. Because I think the part of the brain that is responsible for dopamine is also responsible for emotional regulation, and I think that is also kind of different in men and women, and like how we express is different as opposed to how a man would be expressing things. So
Mm.
yes, I think we're just breaking the stereotypes here with with us with having Parkinson's, and I think explaining that to people around you, I think that is the key, and making them basically understand that okay, yes, even I can have Parkinson's, and yes, I think in terms of the expectations that are there within the roles that I play, I think that needed some kind of resetting of expectations, because in terms of the, the kind of resilience that I need and the strength that I need to carry on day to day, you know, there are times when I'll be fatigued, like, and that's one of the symptoms I experience. Like randomly, I'll get really tired, and then I said, okay, I just can't do that. And for my family to understand that, I think that is something that you need to understand. And I think my kids are so young, but at the moment they are so on the ball with like my needs, which I find really amazing. So they are like they tell me, okay, mommy, you should maybe go and lie down. Like I'm like okay, so things like that. So they're just 6 and 4 now, but like they I think living with a parent who has a condition, like I think for them, I've spoken to their teachers as well, and they say they're very emotionally very mature for their age, and I think that probably comes with maybe dealing with me on a day-to-day basis, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this came out quite organically actually. My goal was, when I started my Instagram page, it was just to share my writing. And
Mhm.
when I started the page, I obviously had it kind of coincided with me having the condition as well. So writing, to be honest, helped me cope with the condition, because it helped me express what I'm feeling. And I think that was very important. When I started writing about the condition, I had people who had the condition who wrote to me saying, thank you for saying this, because we sometimes don't have the words, but you have kind of articulated what we were thinking. So, and I think that kind of gave me the motivation to to work further, and just to basically tell people out there that that I have Parkinson's too, and this is how I'm trying to cope with it. Like I dance a lot as well, so uh, and I think trying to just say to people that like things are not going to be bad every day, like, and that's what my goal is, to normalize it, to normalize speaking about the condition. Like so if somebody sees me, and on the road, if I'm dragging my leg, or when I'm walking, I'm dragging my foot, or if I have a slight tremor, or whatever it is, then I want to be able to be comfortable to actually say, okay, I have Parkinson's, and I want the other person to not feel uncomfortable about it, because a lot of times people don't know what to say, and and they genuinely, they don't know how to respond. So
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm trying to achieve, is just trying to normalize speaking about the condition. I think the first thing I would say is, uh, just be patient, because I think a lot of times, like, we don't know what we are experiencing on a day-to-day basis ourselves. So it's very hard for us to explain it to you, like, what we are going through. So I think just be patient, and try to uh, try to support as much as possible, but like, because I think there's a very fine line between kind of empathy and sympathy, and I think they want to help you, but sometimes, like, my independence is, I'm fiercely independent, and if somebody does something for me, like, I'm like, okay, I could have done that, like. So I think just like trying to help, but just help, and I will ask for the help if I need it, kind of thing. So I think
Mhm.
just be supportive, patient, and yeah, like for example, very recently I started driving again, and my kids were with me in the car, and like after I took them for a drive, they were start clapping for me, like, okay, wow. So I mean, even they understand, like, it's a difficult feat for me to have achieved. So I think
Yeah.
that's I think that that's a kind of support is like invaluable, to be honest. So yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I think sleep is important, very important. Although I think insomnia is one of the symptoms, so thankfully I don't have that problem. But I think sleep is important. Exercise, for sure. Even if like I think even if you don't feel like doing it, like there's so many times when I don't feel like doing it again because of apathy, which is again another symptom of Parkinson's. So
Mm.
it's like you just wake up in the morning and you don't want to do anything at all, and and I think just move, like even if it's just like just a walk around the house or whatever it is, just like just do some kind of bending, stretching, whatever, but just move your body. I think that really helps me personally. I think dressing up well helped me a lot, to be honest. And I about it, and it's something called dopamine dressing. And then I'm like, oh wow, it's actually a thing. So that really
Mm.
helps. So I think just like adding a lot of color to your clothes. I love jewelry as well. So I'm always changing my jewelry and things like that. So I think just kind of looking good, like helps me feel good. However vain it is, but it has helped me. If it's releasing dopamine, it's good for me. So
Okay.
and I think keeping in touch with the close family and friends. I think people who really are, make you feel good, like positive people. I think that really helps as well, because I think that is very helpful, like mentally, to keep you going. And yeah, and in your diet, that's a huge part of it. Like some supplements that are important as well. And I think that's pretty much like my self care routine, I would say. In terms of diet, I think I just follow a balanced diet, and yeah, to be honest, and also I take this couple of supplements which I found really useful. Like one of them I've spoken about on my page as well is the evening primrose oil, and I found that when I used that, it really helped uh, my symptoms, to be honest, with Parkinson. And then I read up about it, and it basically says that it balances the hormones in the body, and which then lead to dopamine being produced. So, which was good. So, yeah. So I think for me, the first thing that I know that it's going to be a bad day when I wake up and like my right side is extremely stiff, and then I start dragging my foot, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be a bad day. And then I know that I need to do things a bit differently. So then I think my goal setting for that day is I try to be a bit more easy on myself on that day. Like for example, if I plan to do XYZ, like if I plan to go run a few errands or go to the shops and so on and so forth, I'll probably say, okay, I don't need to do that today, because even in a small thing like going to a shop then get tiring, because my body is just going into overdrive. And I have the Fitbit, which really helps, because whenever I'm my body is not very fluid, then I know that my active zone minutes are going up on my Fitbit. I mean, I'm not actually working out. So, and
Mm.
that's kind of hard to even move like normally. So I think that's when I know that I need to be a bit more kinder to myself. So I think my expectations on myself are kind of I have to lower them on that day. Uh, I would say that it is uh, it is obviously a life changing diagnosis, but there is always hope, and there is always a way to manage the symptoms. And and like you said, like it's different in different people. So depending on what symptoms you have, there's always ways that people manage those symptoms. And I think if you are able to manage the symptoms and exercise, I think that is basically my mantra, because if you do that, then you are able to have some control over a condition that is pretty much going to be degenerative. So I think if you are able to exercise that control, definitely do that. I think we need to find ways in which we can control the condition, and I
Mm.
think that's something that you need to do. Also, I think the second thing which I didn't do initially was I tried to do everything by myself, and I was hesitant to ask for help and support. And I think that that is something that I would have done differently. Like, so if I've somebody is diagnosed newly, I would say ask for help, ask for support. There's no shame in it, because I think the more support systems you have around you, the better you can, enjoy your life. Yeah, my kids for sure, and my parents as well, because I think they were like extremely shocked, like, to see that, oh, like, you got this. They were in denial in the beginning, and I think it took a lot for them to come on board with the fact that I have this condition. And I think yeah, so basically it's just for family, to be honest, to be able to be there for them as long as I can, and to show them that, like, for my kids as well, like, to show them that it's not the end of the world. Like, you have this condition, you learn how to live with it, and like that's how. And I think, to be honest, when I think back to it, like, if I was able to survive the initial first year along with two kids and a pandemic, then yes, I can do it. Like, I think that kind of just gives me the motivation to to do that for sure. Yeah.